Welcome to the Grading Rescue Workshop, where we will cover time-saving grading techniques. My name is Natalie Gray. I am a Senior Instructional Designer here at CERT. As you can see here, I will not be showing my face during this presentation, only because we will be covering a few items in the Canvas Gradebook, and I'd like you to see the actual gradebook and not me in the corner. Now, in our workshop, we have a couple of objectives. The first, of course, is for you to recognize Canvas for the time-saving savior that it is. We will also be covering items such as how to incorporate rubrics, a feedback toolbox, and scaffolded assessments to help you save time grading. To do this, we're going to cover 6 items. Namely an orientation quiz, a Canvas Gradebook and SpeedGrader, rubrics, a feedback toolkit, scaffolded projects, and viable feedback sources. And here this does mean non-instructor viable feedback sources. Now, you may not be able to see all of my very fancy flowchart. This is going to be in our Canvas Grading Rescue Workshop that you can access by self-enrolling. If you need that, you can, or if you need that code, you can always contact me at natalie.gray, G-R-A-Y, at unf.edu, and I can get you that self-enroll access code. Hopefully that gave you enough time to look at my flowchart. I put a lot of work into that. Of course, we're going to kind of go over all of these items in the workshop. Now, the first item we will cover is the orientation and time management. And this is really where you're going to implement those time-saving strategies. The first item that I do whenever I'm trying to figure out where my time is going is to identify those problem areas. Anytime you are grading throughout the semester, take a break and see what are the problem areas for students. What takes the longest to grade? Notate these. That way in future iterations of your course, you can find and pinpoint those areas and tailor your strategies to meet those problem areas. Now, one thing I always did as a freshman history instructor was I used a orientation quiz or a syllabus quiz. When I notated what the students had problems with, I would put that on my syllabus. I had a very long syllabus, much longer than what I see at UNF. I think my syllabus was 10 pages. My syllabus quiz after 10 years of teaching freshmen, so keep that in mind, it was freshmen, was 50 questions. It does take a while to build up to 50 questions. Now, in the syllabus quiz, as you can see in the flowchart image, here you want to clarify directions on a syllabus and any kind of assessment. So if there is, let's say, a big history research paper project or just a research paper project, and you find that there is an area on that project where students are getting stuck, putting clear directions or more detailed directions on your syllabus and then putting a question on your syllabus quiz about that item will kind of give students a heads up that, hey, this is a problem. Kind of get that started early or resolve that issue as early as possible. Another thing I would do, not just on the syllabus quiz where I'm dealing with the student side of items, but I would make what you would call at UNF a course facilitation plan. I would get a big calendar and put all of my weeks on the calendar and note when my grading was heaviest. During that time, I would move items around so I would build in flexible time for grading. When it comes to grading time, I always thought it was going to take me a lot less time than it did. So a good rule of thumb is think how long it's going to take you to grade something. Let's say it's a short quiz, it might take you a week. Automatically plan for 3 weeks. That way, if there are any issues that come up, like you have a plumbing emergency at your house, your roof falls in, and you cannot grade, now you've created a buffer with your facilitation plan. Another great use of the facilitation plan is to not overwhelm yourself with a number of graded assessments at once. For example, I would typically have 5 sections of freshman history courses, so that meant about 200 students. So instead of giving exams in 2 days, where I'd have 200 papers to grade in a week, I would actually spread that out. I would do 1 week would be, let's say, U.S. history, and the next week would be world history. That way I kind of created that buffer for myself. Though there would be some overlap, but it was nothing too overwhelming. Another absolutely fabulous thing to do is put all of your assessments online. Canvas is fabulous with this. When I was teaching, no matter the modality, whether it's face-to-face, hybrid, or online only, I put all of my assessments online. Now, I will say in Canvas there is one little caveat, and that's the word assignment. Assignments in Canvas basically is anything with a grade. I try to use assessment, which will cover both written assignments and objective style quizzes, which you would find under the quizzes function in Canvas. Now, when it comes to your objective style quizzes, that could be an exam, that could be just a general quiz, anything that has objective, multiple choice, true, false, matching questions. Don't forget you also can add a essay, and now Canvas allows us to attach rubrics to exams that use the essay function. So all of your multiple choice items can be graded quickly with the Canvas auto grader function. But now you can attach a rubric to grade all of those essays really quickly. And again, no matter what delivery method, face-to-face, online, or hybrid, having all of your assessments online is a huge time saver. Plus, you never have to worry if you're going to lose a paper. Now, with the speed grader, I am going to open up our speed grader in my Canvas Sandbox course, and I'm going to walk you through some of the new functions with speed grader. All right, now that I have my Sandbox gradebook up, this is what your gradebook will look like. Of course, all of my students are dummy students, so we're not breaking any FERPA laws here, but you will notice there is a big change with the speed grader. There are 2 major ones when it comes to organization, and that is the apply filters here. And over here in the upper right is the gear function. That gear icon hides quite a few options for you. So if I click that gear option, the first item that you are going to see is the late policies. This is a really quick, wonderful time-saving technique if you automatically apply a grade for missing submissions. I know some people have a no late work policy. You can click this and put a 0% grade, or however many points you want to grant for that. Others like to do the automatic deductions, and here you can put in whatever your policy may be. I'm just going to untick that box. Maybe, there we go. So here, just for the example, I've got 5% per day, with 0 being the lowest. And you'll see here with this drop-down menu for the deduction interval, that could be by the day or by the hour. And don't forget, if you are wanting to make this live, you would have to go down to that dark blue button, and here it would say apply settings to apply those settings, or at least those setting changes. The next option in your gradebook settings is the grade posting policy. This is something most students will like to see. Now you could do 2 things. One is the automatically post grades. That's where when you grade it, the grade automatically populates into gradebook and students can see that. That's great. Now, I will say my students back in the day would track where I was in the alphabet, who got graded that day, so they can tell their friends further down the alphabet about how long it would take to get me or get to their grades. Now, with the manually post grades, here grades are hidden by default, and you can actually choose when those grades would be revealed to everyone. Now, this is a great thing if you want to just hold all the grades, stop students from trying to figure out when am I going to get graded, and just release all of those at once. Now, it will give you information about students not receiving notifications about the following, their grade for the assignment, grade change notifications, submission comments, curving the assignment, and score change notifications. So keep that in mind if you decide you want to manually post grades. Now, the option that most people ask about, and this is what almost everyone is happy to see, is the view options. This is changed from where it was last year, at least early in fall of last year. They made the change where they put the view options under that gear icon. And this is how you do a lot of fun things. Now you'll notice here I have all these items unticked. So notes, unpublished assignments, all of that. And if I go to my gradebook and I scroll around, you can see I don't have any unpublished assignments. I've only got two things that look like there could be late. A lot of my totals are hidden, and that's because of that view options. So I'm going to go back to the gear, and I'm going to tick all of these, and I'm going to hit Apply Settings in the lower right corner. And now you can see not only have my gradebook settings updated, but look at all these unpublished items. Look at that. All that stuff you usually scroll past and keep scrolling because there are entire blocks in your gradebook. And at the very end, I don't have too much in here, there should be a couple of examples of where it would say your totals or your averages. So I'm going to go back to the gear. I am going to hide the total column, hide assignment group totals, unpublished, and notes. And I'm going to hit Apply Settings. And now my gradebook is clean once again. Yay! So I know that is something that most of you like to see. And of course, how does this help with grading? Well, now you're not scrolling through everything in your gradebook. That is a huge time saver, particularly if you have a large number of unpublished assignments in your gradebook. Now, the other item about organization, when it comes to your gradebook, you can, of course, search for students here, and only that one student will pop up, which is handy if you have a class with, let's say, 100 students or a large survey course and you're looking for one person, or even several. You can start typing names here. You could just put that here, and that's going to limit your field on your gradebook. You can also search by assignments. And now that assignment is going to be at the beginning of your gradebook, right by the student names. So that's also handy when you are grading something in a class that has 20 somethings or 50 somethings. Finding something quickly. Assignment names and student names. Now, apply filters is another item I like. This is how you are going to change the organization of your gradebook. Now, you can do this by modules. In my sandbox, I've only got 3 modules. So here you could say, oh, here's the module view. I love that. You can also do this by assignment groups. And if you click on that little arrow, it'll tell you all the assignment groups that I've created. So you can put your gradebook in that type of organization. Student groups is a bit different. This is how I always recommend grading a group project, and this has changed significantly since the update last fall. If you click on this arrow, now every student group for every assignment is going to pop up. Whereas before it was nice and neat in that little box in the upper right. Now we have this very long list. Well, at least for me, it's a very long list because I just have a ton of samples in here. So if let's say another example, this is another example, group 1. I click on that. And now only the students in that group, so another example, group 1, will be here. This is going to save you time grading because now you're not searching for every student in that student group. Ton of time. Now, of course, if you have clicked the tick boxes in your assignment for the group assignment that says everyone gets the same grade, that grade will populate here automatically. But if you've allowed the assignment to have different grades for each group member, you'll definitely want to come in and narrow your field of view on your gradebook to just those students in that group. All right, so we are going to clear that out. And now when you go back to apply filters, this is where your status is, and now you can show everything that's late, and those are the blue boxes. What's missing, resubmitted, dropped, excused. That is all here. And to be fair, if you do not like the way these boxes, like this blue box here, look, you can go over to your view options underneath the gear, and you can change the colors right here. That's how you change those colors. I'm just going to leave them as the default colors, however. Now, back under Apply Filters, we do have 2 new statuses, and that is Submissions and Start and End Date. So here you can put your submissions at the in your field of view for your gradebook, and you can put items from start to end date, at least in your gradebook view. I'm going to hop out of the gradebook shortly, and I'm going to talk about your feedback time savers. Now, for feedback time savers, that can be really a big time commitment, and at that point, I will say rubrics save a ton of time. I know they're not everyone's favorite item to build, but once you put in that initial building time investment, it will repay its time back to you in a multitude of ways, just exponentially pay that back. Rubrics are essentially providing students instant feedback. So once you create those rubrics and you grade using the rubrics, at least within Canvas SpeedGrader, instantaneous feedback. Who denied that is a time-saving technique? Now, to show you how this works, I have a sample rubric on the page, and of course, each of the criteria are here. So what are you looking for? What are you going to grade on? And you have your ratings that go horizontally along the rows. Every point where the criteria and ratings intersect is instant feedback for the student. So as you are grading using the rubric in SpeedGrader, let's say you're picking somewhat met on Part A, Assessment Overviews, this explains why that is somewhat met and not met or not met. Now, if you're wanting to give extra feedback, we have there as well. When you open up the SpeedGrader, you're going to see this little message bubble. When you open that up, this will expand so you can provide specific feedback on that particular criteria. Another fabulous thing about rubrics is that they can be reused. Once you create a rubric, you can use, let's say, your discussion board rubric across every course that you have. And that's going to save you time. Not only are you going to save time with one discussion board, it'll be with every discussion board. And let's say you've decided you want to tweak that discussion board rubric. You can actually do that fairly easily by just creating another rubric, let's say discussion board revised, and attaching that to the next discussion board. So reusing your rubric across all of your courses is an absolutely fantastic time saver. You can also use this for several types of the same assignment. Let's say I'm going to use history again. I have several essays that I want students to use for practice for their exams. I can use that same rubric over and over for every practice essay and again in the exam essay. So again, once you put in the time to build your initial rubrics, that is going to save you just a ton of time grading. Now I'm going to open up the SpeedGrader and show you what the rubrics look like in SpeedGrader. All right, so now that I have my SpeedGrader back open for you, I'm just going to navigate to the research paper. I'm going to open this in SpeedGrader by clicking on that little arrow, then of course leaving SpeedGrader or entering SpeedGrader here through the button. Now you'll see, of course, students have not submitted this, so I can't really show you what this looks like, but if you click View Rubric, this is where you can open up your rubric and attach it. Now let's say your rubric has many more rating criteria than what I have here. Just take this little area right here and open that up. That way you can get to your SpeedGrader a little easier while still looking at your student submission. To grade on the rubric, you would just click it. That's it. Then you would click Save to Grade. And that comment box, again, is right here. So you would just click that to add extra comments. I will actually put in the grade for you just to show you. There you go. You can see I have it as hidden because I want to grade everything before all the students see it. Now, because I have this open, I am going to show you a couple of other quick things that students like when it comes to feedback. And that's the non-verbal feedback here, because you do have emojis now that you can enter right here. If you are wanting to do voice to text, that is the speech recognition icon right here. You click on that and it uses Siri technology to do voice recognition, to do speech to text. Caveat, non-native English speakers, Siri tends to pick those up better. I know Siri thinks my traditional Southern English accent is horrible and she picks random words for me. Now, I will say the more often you use this technology, the better the recognition becomes. So keep that in mind. What I personally like to do if I can't write or my fingers have just been worked to the bone and I can't type anymore, you can do a media comment. If you click this little, I call it the YouTube icon, but if you click that video icon, you can actually either do a video comment where you are speaking to your student, or you could do a screen record for your student. I like to just cut off the video and do a voice recording. I've had many faculty who've actually used the voice recording video, audio comments. Students loved it. They can really understand what the tone of what you're saying is, as well as getting to know you a bit better, because then they can, they hear your voice. And of course, here's where you can attach files. I think everyone knows that one. Now, one other item, because I know most people like to put comments here, but if you're not sure with this little blue icon up here, that little message bubble, that is your comment library. Now, I have mine on, so I'm just going to cut that off. Here you'll see it's still blue, but it'll be disabled. To enable that, you just click on the message icon and click that green, and now it's enabled. You can add all types of things to your comment library, such as great job, but here you'll notice if I start typing, there we go. Sorry, I've got a lot of tabs open on my computer, so it's a little slower. But typically, once you get to about 3 or 4 letters, you're going to see that comment auto-populate from your comment library. You can just hit submit, and everything is there. All right, so we're back to our slideshow, and I wanted to mention the comment library outside of Canvas SpeedGrader. This is an absolutely fabulous way to create really in-depth comment libraries that you may want to use for, let's say, mathematical problems, engineering, things with images, something that you can't normally put into the Canvas comment library. So for a comment library outside of Canvas, you'll definitely want to create a searchable document, whether it's in Google Docs or Microsoft Word, and then put in your comments. You want to make sure that you take your comment library and put it in Canvas. I would say copy and paste it, upload it, and put it in your Canvas course someplace close to your assignment so students can refer back to this comment library after your grading. Let's say here I was thinking for an art history class, what would I do if I'm saying, who's the Libyan Sibyl in the Sistine Chapel? Can you determine this or identify this on a multiple choice exam? And here I would say, here it is. You could see it. So, you could do feedback like that pretty easily in your comment library for those really difficult items that you can't normally comment on with the Canvas SpeedGrader comment library. Now, scaffolded assessments. Oh, let me go back. There we go. What is a scaffolded assessment? Well, essentially, this is going to help you create feedback loops for students on those really large projects that could be semester long, half a semester, anything that takes multiple weeks. You can break up into smaller mini deliverables. Now, I always say each rung of a scaffolded assessment, because I kind of see it like a ladder. You're building or working your way through or up a project until it's complete. Each of those mini assignments or smaller deliverables is a rung for you to supply student feedback for that project. Now, why is this a time-saving thing? Well, better feedback or more feedback more often is going to create a better project. And better projects usually require less time for you to grade at the end. Now, as you're adding rungs to your scaffolded assessments, keep in mind what are those problematic areas on that project. Going back to the history research paper example, when I was teaching freshman history, I discovered that my students didn't know how to research in the library. They also didn't understand plagiarism. So I broke this into several different rungs. In my orientation, on my syllabus quiz, I asked plagiarism questions because I used turn it in to determine plagiarism. I gave them a plagiarism assignment in my orientation. That assignment, if you're curious, was I told them to cheat. So go off to Wikipedia, find an article. It was usually plagiarism because that was the simplest thing and that was on their mind. They would copy that article and they would submit that into Turnitin. And of course, they were to give me the screenshot of the of Turnitin's originality report, which would show how much of that was plagiarized and where else on the internet is this article located. Students found that very helpful, and it reduced stress and anxiety when it came time to turn in that assignment because because turning in was not very intuitive for my students. So that solved one problem. The next issue was, what is plagiarism? I actually worked with an embedded librarian. He used San Jose State's anti-plagiarism internet module to train students on what plagiarism is, how to avoid it. And my next wrong on that research project, because they didn't know how to research in the library, and I found out that they didn't go to the library. Therefore, I required them to check in with the librarian and find 3 viable sources. Luckily, here at UNF, you can add a librarian to your course, or you can send your students to the library. They are very happy to help you. But that is an example of how you add wrongs, or those mini submissions, to a scaffolded assessment. Now, of course, you don't always have to do the feedback all yourself. There are a lot of viable feedback options. These are just some of the resources here at UNF, and I know a lot of students wanted more access to college support resources or services. So this is a way to get them involved at UNF, particularly if they're online only students. And of course, possible feedback would be librarians, which is great for research, academic tutoring, which is great for, I'm going to say, because that was in history, anything math related. I was not a good math student, so I would appreciate maybe a DL coach or academic tutoring. And you can actually have that as maybe a project. See your tutor, see your DL coach. And of course, the Writing Center. The Writing Center does still have online-only appointments. So if your students are online-only, hybrid, or even face-to-face, sometimes that online-only appointment is a lifesaver. And of course, you can easily add the Writing Center at many points during a large project. One source of feedback not to discount would be your peer-to-peer student feedback. Remember, this is part of peer-to-peer learning. Students learn by teaching others. They learn from each other. So I would say don't pull back from this. I know many people have had horrible experiences with student groups. Somebody wasn't doing their job or their part in the group work. We personally have all had that experience, I'm sure. So what I would say was student peer-to-peer feedback. Provide a really short video or instruction on how to give good feedback to your peers. I know LinkedIn Learning that we have at UNF has several good examples of how to give critiques to your peers. You could just embed one of those videos. And you can also supply students with a rubric. This is what I'm looking for, and this is what I want you to grade your peers on. Additionally, I see many people like to have students, peers, or at least with group work, where interaction among their peers will directly affect their grade. That is something I would definitely add if you want to ensure that you're getting good group work, if that's part of your scaffolded project, but definitely if you're going to give peer feedback, because you want that peer feedback to be applicable to the project. Now, if you want any of my resources, these are the sources that I used. I hope you enjoyed this grading rescue workshop. I created this just to be asynchronous for you. If you have any questions, of course, you can always contact me at Natalie, N-A-T-A-L-I-E .Gray, so Natalie Gray at unf.edu, and you can always email me asking for that self-enroll link for our Canvas course on the Grading Rescue Workshop. Thanks so much, and I hope I'll be seeing you around soon.